So today what we're going to be focusing on is looking at this topic of analysing. But before we start, I'd just like to welcome any Indigenous people who are here with us today, or elders both past and present, and acknowledge the ground on which we meet here today. So we're going to start with this one on analysis. And so in this particular area, we look at what are you trying to teach? What's the instructional problem? Now, we've got a very diverse group of people here today, and I've tried to introduce myself and meet as many as possible, but such a wide range of competencies and skills that you're teaching. So in one respect, we're not going to look specifically, but I'm hoping that throughout the day, you'll be able to infer what we're talking about and shift it across into your space. Try on some ideas. Some will work brilliantly. Some you'd say that'd be hopeless, would never work in my context, and that's okay. And some you might say, well, give it a try and see what happens. Okay? So what are we teaching is really your content base. But how are we teaching? I'm going to be focusing on these two. How are we teaching? What's the learning environment look like? And what are our learners' existing knowledge and skills? What do they bring to the room? What do they know? And then finally, who are we teaching? So we're starting off with what our learning intentions are. And this is something I'm going to refer back to. You know, you all have learning outcomes, learning competencies in your certificates, yeah? So one of the key things is to make your learning intention clear. Like, this is what we're learning today. And so in a way we're advantaged in competency-based certificates because the learning competencies are clear, aren't they? Like, any VCAL people here today? Yeah, a few of you? Great, cool. Well, I can speak VCAL, can speak a tiny bit of hospitality and a little bit of VCE. But so, for example, in VCAL, we have a competency which is be able to write self-expression texts. But a learning, and that's the competency, but we can shift it to say, today we are learning to write a short piece about our recent experience in a self-expression piece. So that's a very targeted learning intention. And learning intentions always have a verb. Because what we want to do is make the learning clear to the students when they come in the door. Because in a vet environment, and my experience with VCAL and vet, is that the majority of students who come to our classrooms, and tell me if it's wrong up here, haven't always been successful at school. Would that be true? Would you feel that's true? Yeah. So they haven't always been successful. They haven't learned the games, they haven't learned the rules of the game in a classroom. So they come in with often negative attitudes. They come in often with a fixed mindset of I'm not smart and I can't learn. And they come with a very, very much often, like if I'm in the classroom, it's going to be boring. But if I'm doing something hands-on, it'll be okay. So what we need to do is look at ways in which we can shift that. And that's what I'm going to start talking about today. So we're going to focus on using our knowledge to start learning, identify what has the highest effect in teaching and learning, and look at some of the most recent research, which I have found really interesting for VET and VCAL. Understand the principles of applied and adult learning. Some of you all done your Cert 4, years ago. One of those, oh my gosh, what do we have to do that for? Wish I'd rewrite the Cert 4. It's meant to be about teaching and learning. So maybe remembering and revising some of that content. Look at how we can help our learners how to learn and understand learning styles and strategies, and how to have high impact as a teacher and a trainer. Just back to what I said before about, often so many students come into our classroom who just have no idea where to start. And just a story I'll tell you is at one stage, because my background was very much literacy, and I was working on a factory floor with a whole lot of blokes who'd been working on the factory floor, and they had to come in and they had to suddenly started to have to fill in forms, and they really, really were not confident in that. So we had a 12-week course where they come in on their lunch and their overalls for a couple of hours, and I was talking to them about learning how to learn. I was talking to them about cue consciousness, not cue like a pool table, right? But cues as in giving you a cue. Like, here's a cue. You're going to get that. So, for example, in a normal classroom, if the teacher says, okay, right, what's the cue? Listen. Listen. No, that's good. Listen. So tune in. All right. And if you're a good learner, and quite probably you're a good learner and that's why you're here, although it may be that you had a bad experience and you want to do it better, some people are cue aware and some students are cue deaf, which means they're not deaf hearing, they don't get it. So when the teacher or trainer says, okay, right, what they do is go slowly over the desk. So they don't realise that cue is, this is important, you should listen. Or if teachers repeat things. So anyway, I was talking about this cue awareness, and one of the guys in his overalls, pretty rough sort of bloke, not a girly sort of type, he listened to what I was talking about and he started to cry. And the whole room went really quiet. And he just said, why didn't somebody tell me that when I was at school? I didn't know. He was very cue deaf. He didn't get those cues. So this is about these learning intentions, is about being really clear. When your students walk into today, they say, today we are learning to, this is what we're doing. Now you might think you might sort of say it around in an about way, but it's about having a high degree of clarity. But this is what we're doing today. Just one other point I wanted to make is that I very much personally see teaching as an ongoing apprenticeship. It's one of those jobs you never get any good at until you retire or you die. I don't know about you, but I'm learning all the time, and I've just been doing all this research stuff and I'm learning, and I think, geez, I wish I knew that 10 years ago. But it's also, I also really strongly believe that teachers are born. Like, I think it's in your gut. You just sort of know. So I am not going to be here today telling you to suck eggs, because I know there's a lot of talent in the room, there's a lot of teaching experience, but it's sort of like, when you sharpen your axe, just honing your skills. So, it's the key to it, and we've got to instill in our students is they've got to keep learning, and even more so than ever, because the jobs that have been will not be the jobs of the future, and this area has experienced that enormously just of late, haven't it? Where people expected a trajectory of your life experience, and it's just going to be different. I was saying over here before that I've been emceeing a whole lot of vet currency. You might have seen it through VDC, where a whole lot of vet experts got together and talked about what's current in the industry, in hospitality, in hairdressing, in engineering, in automotive, etc. And I've been lucky enough just to be the person who's just listening and keeping the ball rolling. And I was amazed at how many jobs are emerging. You probably know that too. There are jobs emerging, they're just different. So our students, more than any other students in the past, have to learn how to learn, because things will keep changing. Even what we think we're training them for now is going to change, it's going to change, it's going to change. So they've got to get that mind frame of change. Okay, but my point is, as I said, the knowledge is in the room. So what my job today is, and I want to model what maybe you can do in your training rooms, is to use what's the knowledge is here. So, all right, anyway, there's lots of people, different industries, but it doesn't matter what you teach, it's how you teach that makes a difference. So, the first principle of adult learning, and we're going to reflect on these a bit shortly, is that we use the students who come to us, we use their knowledge, we use their life experiences. Even if they're just a young person fresh out of school who really isn't very motivated, the key to shifting their learning is to connect with what they know. Start with what they know, and that's a great way forward. And I see a few nods because you know that.